이제 좀 관심이 생기니까.
이유가 뭐고?
뭐 하시겠냐고요
뭐가 자백을 하냐고.
이형 가고 있어.
어디 있노니?
Hey guys, welcome back. We've got another Korean movie review for you. This one, Dark Figure of Crime, loosely based on real events, which also add to some of the creepy, more interesting factors that go into this movie. But for just the basic outline, it is about a detective who gets a phone call from someone in jail. Now this is a murderer in jail for one murder. He confesses to 7 additional murders. Now, these murders are unreported, there's no bodies, and there's no evidence. So things are looking strange. And what also is kind of strange is this killer who's in jail. He's a little bit strange.
Okay, so the detective arrives in prison and he's given a list by the convicted murderer who's played by Ju Ji-hoon. And he compiles a list of 7 additional murders that he supposedly committed, right? But it's not, they're very vague. They're just possible descriptions of who these people might have been and where these murders might have taken place. And that's really the first piece of the puzzle. And Kim Yoon-seok's character solely has to begin the investigation just based on that information alone.
Yeah, that information, because it's so vague, Kim Yoon-seok's character has his work cut out for him, where each supposed murder has a story behind it. There was a person. He's got to put the pieces together. We've got a lot of different paths that he's got to go down. It's sort of like, is this criminal sending him on this wild goose chase? You know, is he all there? Clearly this criminal lies somewhere on the spectrum. He's very eccentric. He's also he seems very evil. He has sudden outbursts of anger, a little unreliable, but the evidence that he has given, he knows too much for it to be all fake. Some things are squaring up. So the film is him trying to actually pin these murders onto him and find out also, why is he confessing?
The movie is mainly focused on the dynamic between these two characters, right? It's almost sole focus is that and the investigation itself. So a lot of it revolves around Kim Yoon-seok's character visiting the prison and trying to extract more information from him. But of course, nothing is, for free. There is a reason why, he's asking this detective to come and, offering information. It's because obviously he wants something in return, and part of the mystery is to find out like what exactly it is that he wants. So there's this dynamic that's set up between detective and sociopathic killer.
And that information is not coming easy. There's this weird give and take that they're going back and forth with.
Right. So it's almost like it's like a psychological like war of attrition between these two characters. So that aspect of the movie, like this dynamic between those two characters, was one of the things that I really enjoyed about this movie.
Yeah, so I really did like the relationship as well, and how all of those names that the detective is given give him a chance to go out and do investigative work. So this movie does have that procedural feel to it, and then it's always grounded in the dynamic between the two, because it always coming back to have these little meetings throughout the film that kind of serve as markers in telling this story.
And I guess it's worth mentioning the two lead actors, because there's really not that much of a big supporting cast in this movie.
The prosecutor, and then just a couple other people to drive the story.
But obviously the ones that are really worth mentioning are Kim Yoon-seok and Ju Ji-hoon. Kim Yoon-seok, I've always been a fan of him ever since 추격자 or The Chaser. Yeah, and he delivers another very strong performance. It's very understated. None of it is too over the top. Like I feel like he gives this sense of a detective who's constantly just in control.
He's very collected, and he's just kind of like a hardworking, diligent, seasoned detective. He doesn't have any crazy outbursts.
No, not at all. And it's weird because I was kind of expecting that going in, and there's really none of that.
Right. Yeah, he stays cool. On the other hand, Ju Ji-hoon.
Ju Ji-hoon's acting, he's pretty much on the complete opposite spectrum of that, which I think was an intentional choice just to be able to offset, Kim Yoon-seok's calm and collected character. What did you think of Ju Ji-hoon's performance?
Yeah, at first I was taken aback. This movie does have or feature a lot of Busan dialect.
Oh yeah, a lot.
So and which can sound a little bit abrasive to people that aren't, necessarily familiar with that way of speaking.
It's really fast too.
It's fast. Ju Ji-hoon's character was being, in contrast to Kim Yoon-suk's character, just very showy, very over the top. He was pretty wild and crazy, even in just his speaking style.
Yeah.
Very dramatic. It took me a while to get used to it, to be honest. And he kind of comes off as really in your face and crazy, which is good.
Right. It is fitting for the role that he's playing, I suppose. This might just come down to personal taste, but yeah, for me, I kind of felt the same way too. I felt like it was too much of a performance, right? It was more like, look at me, I'm acting, as opposed to sort of like a more natural interpretation of what might be, a sociopathic, psychopath murderer. So yeah, I feel like his performance was constantly just here. Right. Where I feel like there were moments where he could have sort of pulled back a little bit just to show us more layers to the character. But just because it's so constantly in your face, I felt like this kind of feels like acting.
Yeah, it's like this audition reel, one after the next, of him just kind of going full sociopath, psycho, little eccentric one time, screaming crazy the other time. Is he putting on a show? Or is this really him? I really wanted to know more about that.
Right.
Especially when placed next to Kim Yoon-suk's character, and I like I said, that might have just been an intentional choice, but it just seems kind of strange at times.
Another really good point about this movie that I liked a lot was the pacing. Clearly, this director researched the case intensely, and he had a very strong desire to present almost every fact that is involved in this case. And so there's so much there that things kind of unfold at a good click, but it's constantly coming at you, which keeps you engaged. You're always getting new information. So that was nice. But again, that kind of plays into a negative that I would say about this movie, is that because we're constantly getting information, whether it's Kim Yoon-suk's character in the field talking to survivors and friends and family of the missing, or when he's back with Ju Ji-hoon's character, possibly getting more new information or changing of information, takes some time away from potentially getting to know these characters a little bit more on a deeper level.
The case itself is really interesting, and there's a lot of intrigue and mystery surrounding it. But at the same time, because it's so heavily focused on the procedural aspect of it, it kind of leaves the characters by the wayside. And it's unfortunate because, you have Kim Yoon-suk's character who's he's so insistent on nailing this guy and finding out the truth and possibly seeking justice for the possible victims. And it's pretty much a one-man mission, right? He's barely getting any support from his superiors, and people around him are telling me, dude, this guy's using you. So many people around him are trying to dissuade him, yet his conviction is so strong. It just made me wonder, okay, so where is this conviction coming from? What is it about this character that is really driving him, despite all the naysayers, despite everyone around him, to try and solve this case? And the same goes for Ju Ji-hoon's character, right? Like, I feel like there's this guy, this convicted murderer, and obviously he's clearly a sociopath. He's killed people, and we don't really get much more than that. Like, there's just, and I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with the performance as well. There's just not enough layers to this character to truly understand and delve deeper into his psyche to know what makes him tick.
And I think the film actually tries to do that. When Kim Yoon-suk is out there investigating and gathering information, we actually do get these flashbacks of our criminal before he was convicted doing things out in the world. Now, are these things real? Because Ju Ji-hoon's character is making up some things along the way.
Yeah, he would definitely be considered like an unreliable narrator.
So are we really learning about his character? Not really. We're seeing him in a new light, but all we know of the true character of Tae-ho is that he's crazy. We don't get to see much more of that. And is that all there is? I kind of hope not.
Yeah, and there's even a moment in the film where Kim Yoon-suk's character says to another officer, like, oh, yeah, this guy is beyond psychoanalysis. Like he can't be understood. And I feel like that was kind of just like an easy way out for the movie to not really delve deeper into the psyche of this character.
There's a weird intelligence to him that implies there is something under the surface layer. One of the best takeaways that I can say from this movie, and I saw this from almost the entire audience that I was sitting with, is by the time the credits start rolling, everyone got on their phone and went on to Naver, which is kind of the Korean version of Google. It's a portal site here. To research the actual true events of this case. It does make you very curious, and it does, get you sort of in that inquisitive mode and curious mode when it's over.
Yeah, if that was the intent of the movie, is to make people more curious about the actual events, then I think it did a pretty bang up job. Right. But I just feel like the movie as a whole, as a movie, because this is a movie after all, right? Even though it is inspired by true events, it is still a film that we're watching. So as a movie as a whole, I feel like, it was a bit underwhelming for me, especially compared to other true crime movies such as Zodiac, or even another Korean film, Memories of Murder by Bong Joon-ho.
One of the greatest.
Yeah, one of the greatest. I feel like they're on a completely different level.
This film does sort of conjure up vibes from Memories of Murder, and there are certain scenes in this that are undeniably similar.
Yeah, they had to have that. There's no way that was unintentional.
Right. It's because I think it works so well that why would you not try to do it similarly, unless you can completely make up your own great way to show that. So overall, how would you rate this movie?
It's definitely an interesting watch, and I would recommend people to go see. I just can't give it like a really strong recommendation. I'd give it a 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, I actually think this is one of the more solid movies, Korean movies that I've seen this year. Just put together, and it's a well-told story. It's definitely above the cut in a lot of ways. It's well put together. It's just missing certain points when it comes to the characters to make it just truly amazing and awesome. So I would rate this movie a 7 out of 10. This is actually a really good movie. So hope you guys can check this one out, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Just how the characters resonated with you, and if you were left wanting like we were. All right, so thanks for watching. Like always, I'm Tyler from the Movie Beat.
I'm James.
And just keep watching movies, guys. We'll see you soon.